You wonderful mob, how are we all doing? Welcome back to PommyInOz, and today we're looking at them pesky VFL boys. They faced off against the North Melbourne reserve side, and it was tighter. It was a tight game. It was tighter than some skinny jeans from the 70s. We'll take you through what happened, who stood out, what are the chances of playing senior football, what we observed from there. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Now, for the second week in a row, the Blues pushed and pushed and pushed, but couldn't quite get the job done. They did lead by 25 points at one point, but North flipped the script quite easily in the third. Carlton did throw everything at it late again, but again, it wasn't enough. And it really did showcase, I'm never about results in the reserve football, but we will get into the data in a minute. But it was one of them games where you look at it and you're like, okay, there is some issues here with game style, but also just kind of the development of these players. If you look, Carlton massively had more of the ball, 384 to 331. They won the ball count, but lost the inside 50 count. And this says really for me everything about these types of games that we're watching this year, that Carlton just have no real impetus. It's like a lot of touches for very little reward. The tackle count, North won that one as you would expect when you are 50 down in touches. But again, around the ball, right, they had more marks. Using the ball, looking to control the game. And this is it. At times, Carlton's reserve side seemed to have this intensity of almost being in kind of this kind of area of getting a lot of the ball and looking very good on the stat sheet. But when you actually try and think about it as, okay, we're playing some big games here. We're playing to try and get into the seniors. What you are noticing is there's not an overuse of football. It's kind of like touches without purpose. It's almost at times you are watching a side try very hard for very little reward. And everything else was kind of even. The disposal efficiencies were even, but North really used this ball really, really, really effectively. If you looked at Will Phillips in this game, that's another kind of takeout. The guys that are controlling the North Melbourne are AFL-listed players. Will Phillips, he was tough and clean throughout. I really did enjoy Bryn Teakle's game as well. He was a huge presence in the ruck and bettered Pittonet for much of the game. Bailey Scott, although Will Hayes was our leading disposal getter, Will Hayes, for me, why is he our senior ball getter? You look at this team and it all runs through Heath Shaw, Ramshaw, it all runs through Will Hayes. Every target is to Liam McMahon. It makes no sense when you are trying to build a future for the boys. The boys have got to. Even like, say, when you go through for River Stevens, Georgie Payne, Cooper Harvey, who had 3 goals. He was very strong throughout. Everything of North Melbourne's is really focused around their senior listed players. And the VFL listed players, they're doing body work. So, like, when you look at, like, for argument's sake, I was watching this game and I'm flabbergasted that Will Hayes has such high uncontested possessions. Because if he was there to protect the young boys, I'd be like, okay, it makes sense. But Ben Camporeale, nearly triple his contested possessions. It makes no sense what they're trying to do out there because, no offence to Will Hayes, he ain't getting back on a senior list. Do you know what I mean? So, Carlton have got to look at this for me. Like, I wouldn't mind if we were doing these types of games and we're looking at these guys having a real baptism of fire, but it was fascinating in that. And again, we saw it again. There's no real leadership from these junior kids, which is kind of concerning at the minute. It feels like a lot of them are going, and at the minute we are going to come on to the players, but players like Ben Camporeale, Lucas Camporeale and Harry O'Farrell are really standing out. And it's going to be fascinating to see where this goes because I do look at this and I never look at results in the VFL. I'm looking at situation. Watching this game back, and I've watched this game twice now because I thought maybe I'm harsh at first. Ben and Lucas and Harry definitely have some scope for improvement, but they definitely have them situations where I can see what they're doing is transferable to AFL level. Jordan Boyd in this game here, I'm looking for him to control, but I didn't see someone who was desperate for it. Matt Pittonet, when Teakle is probably getting the better of you in the ruck, and he ain't a top-level ruckman, that does concern me. Harry Lemmey showed his signs, but why isn't he the senior forward in this role? Why is Liam McMahon taking them credits? I love Liam McMahon for a VFL player, but there is a reason that 17 other clubs haven't drafted him. It's only recently now Essendon have lost half a forward stock that they are starting to show rapid interest in him, because they definitely need an upgrade on Peter Wright, and he can probably do that. But again, why is he the main man? Because it was Ben Crocker before him. The best way to develop Harry Lemmey is give him that central piece, because it's easy to flip to the secondary role. But ultimately, he's got to be able to command that area. So I feel like we could really, really improve in and around what we've got. Let's get into the individual players. Ben Camporeale, 25 touches, 12 contested, went at 80% efficiency, 5 score involvements, smart, clean, very tough, proper midfielder's game here. Cracked in hard, barely wasted it. He really looked to get the game moving forward. He was very good in tight. I really liked what I saw from Ben. There is some real positive signs here. He's an incredible footballer. He knows how to use the ball, and there is some natural skills there. And we talked about it in his draft year. There is something here. He's used to being the star, which I'm starting to see these abilities that he brings players in, though. He really does. And I really like this game. And I'm not saying he's ready for AFL yet, but when Carlton are desperately looking for someone that can play inside and out, Ben gives me a lot of hope that a good year in the VFL, he should be thereabouts, because when he gets into a bit of space as well, he makes something happen. Really love Lucas Camporeale's game. Now, I've always been Team Lucas over Team Ben. Lot of outside work here. Finds space well, keeps his width really well. What I love about him is his selflessness. He always resets on defensive exits. Always backs that up. 9 marks in this game. He really showcased that, getting himself free. But 65% efficiency, you can see he needs to sharpen that up at times. But the hard running, the selfless running, the making things happen, I really enjoyed what I saw from him. Harry O'Farrell, for me, reads the play. We've got a real centre-half back here in the making. His intercepting at time was top tier, 7 of them. Used the ball pretty well as well. Really looks comfortable as well. Looks comfortable at this level. I would love it if we can try and get... I'd love a senior defender down there with him. I'd love us to look there and have someone better than Denver Granger Barras. It's a shame that... Who am I thinking of? You know, a real old school... Like, they had Adam Tomlinson. I'd love us to have an Adam Tomlinson to play with him here. Like, have that little bit of backup, as he would do in seniors when he comes in, because Jacob Wheater will always be the senior, but someone to really steady the ship. Whether that's Lewis Young when he goes back in there, someone who's a bit more experienced, because I feel like his best work is when he's peeling off, but he's really showing that defensive application. He gets beaten a few times, right? But that's more of his body size, but his knowledge is really good. Really like him. Jackson Binns works really hard. It's a classic Jackson Binns role, though. High work rate, lots of the ball. Rush disposals, though. 23 touches, 60%, 69%, 60% again, efficiency. The big difference here is I would say already Lucas looks more assured in the defensive avenues of the game, which is no knock on Jackson, but I do look at this and we see how Matt Cottrell plays. Has Carlton missed a trick not playing him at half forward, running here, running up and down the wings? It's fascinating how we're using Ollie Hollins and Jackson Binns, because I feel like we've missed a huge trick with these two at the minute. And now seeing Ollie Hollins play halfback, seeing Jackson Binns almost feel like Lockie O'Brien in his final year with VFL, that he's working hard, but you know he's not going to get an opportunity. And it's fascinating with Jackson that I feel like with Cottrell out in pieces last year, you see how important that conduit is at half forward. Why? I'd love the club to explain that to me, because I definitely see the efficiencies in his game, but I feel like if you play him ahead of the ball, there's an option there to try and protect this. Mark Pittonet, decent numbers, but again with Mark Pittonet, it's almost like he plays like he's the body type, say, of someone like TDK, but the body size of Sean Darcy. No tackles in this, and the ball was there to be won. 14 hits. Definitely Bryn Teakle was the better player of the day for me. It was interesting because I found his link-up play bizarre at times. I found him floating forward a little bit wasteful. It's a real fascinating one because I'll need to see him impose at this level. And it looks like Carlton are a one-ruck system for the time being. Harry Charlson, very quietish, but playing that more lockdown role. When he does get the ball, though, he moves it quite well. Definitely a wait and see here. He's Matt Carroll 2.0 from his junior years, so I think there's going to be a bit of time with him at the minute. He's got a nice size about him. This is interesting when Jordan Boyd's there because it's kind of wasted, but this is again where Ramshaw's getting quite a lot of the ball when he floats at halfback. I don't quite understand why. Like, for me, play Charlson in that role. Let him have it. Him and Billy Wilson need as much of the ball as possible. Harry Lemmey, this is another big step forward. Took his goals well, working as the second. I like the way that he leads. I keep saying this about Harry. I really do like the way that he leads, and I'd like to see him get a little bit more time as the main target. What I do like about Harry is he brings other players into it. He's not goal hanging, which I find he could quite easily do. He works really hard for his team. He makes some really intuitive leads, albeit the back line here is very inexperienced. McMahon was against the more senior guy at times. I thought he used his body well, and there is some signs here. It's going to be interesting with Harry how far he goes. Rob Monaghan, not really much to talk about here. They're playing him down the back. He did some things, but I would be hoping with Rob now that I'm starting to see some familiarity, and it still looks like a little bit of a duck. It looks like a duck out of water at the minute. It's really fascinating with him. Like, he didn't find much of the footy defensively. I felt like he got caught lacking sometimes. He was doing a cardio session out there. I feel like he's got some traits. But again, this is where I go back to, you've got to play these guys to their strengths. And at the minute, when I'm looking at the people who are being trusted with the most of the ball in the VFL, I'm asking that question, why? Like, why? I love Ramshaw. He's a real good, honest worker. But again, the question that I'm going to ask time and time again is, why are they becoming so poignant in this game? Like, why are they so poignant in this game? Why is Cooper Vickery being one of the chief exits out of there? It makes no sense to me. So he did what he needed to do, but I need to see more. He's a long way from AFL. He's old Robbie. He is, as much as I love him. Billy Wilson, this was okay. Still raw, but I like his attack on the ball. His 1%ers were really strong. He stays in the structure. He looks to do it. This was more of a development game for him. He looked like he was enjoying himself out there. It's going to be really fascinating of what Billy does, because I feel like he's got so many raw assets that we desperately need at top tier. I want to see more of this game. I'd like to see the game go through him a little bit more. I'd love to see Charlson and him get a bit more of a poignant role. And I hope to see this because he did attack the press very well. I really did like it. Jordan Boyd, interesting role this one. It was kind of like a higgledy-piggledy game for him. He seems really out of favour at the club. A classic Jordan Boyd game for me. Classic Jordan Boyd game. Did what he needed to do and used the ball well. A lot more defensive this week, which really excites me because I feel like that's something that he's got to kind of lock down. But nice link-up play. A little bit of assured there. Him and Ethan Phillips do link up quite well. You can see they're mature there. It's an interesting one because he's got to really lead. And I'd like to see him be a bit more vocal and take the game under the scruff of the neck. But it was interesting that he wasn't the main provider down the back. So that was interesting. Hudson O'Keefe, he I felt, gave Bryn Teakle one of the harder games when he was up against him. I'd like to see him float forward more. It's really interesting here because I feel like ruck forward is the niche that Carlton definitely need. I do like his ruck craft. It's really developed in the last couple of years, so that's quite impressive. I do feel like I need to see him kick on now. I know he was injured for a big part last year. I want to see him kick on any more. Ashton Moir is becoming Nick Larkey 2.0. Didn't see him. Red time, this guy's a problem. And I kind of like that because every goal he kicks is an ooze of class. It's really fascinating because it's obvious that the primary target is McMahon, which makes no sense. So the secondary target is Lemmey. And then kind of Ashton Moir is feeding on scraps, as are the smalls that are working him around him. Makes no sense that you've got to try and get him into the game. At times, he's making leads and being totally burnt. And then at other times, it's almost like, I don't mean to be harsh to Ashton because I love him. He kind of sulks and kind of goes anonymous. But when the game is on the line, fair play to him. This guy puts his hand up and says, okay, I'm ready. He's got a very Nick Larkey about him. Working hard. It'd be interesting to see if they do what they did with him a couple of years ago, last year, and put him on the wing. Try and get him into the game more, because I feel like he's one of these players that if he doesn't have a touch in the first 5 minutes, it's kind of like he checks out until the next quarter. But the red time goals, they are fascinating because I feel like he is a red time specialist and he reminded me of Nick Larkey. We finish off with Francis Evans. Looked lively to start off with, but then faded out of the game. And his tackle pressure towards the end of the game at times was almost non-existent. It was very good early doors, but then it went very quickly, and that is interesting to me. Like Lemmey, like for me, he should be leading them. He's played a lot of AFL games, and he didn't feel like the leader down there. So that was the VFL game. I mean, for this game here, like Ben and Lucas keep putting it up, and I really like them development. Are they ready to play AFL football? Yeah, I don't know, but you know what? I wouldn't be allergic to it if they could get a nice role. But they're really worth watching. Harry O'Farrell, I'm really excited about him. He's really, really looking really assured. And Lemmey keeps showing some signs. It'd be really interesting to see, will he get it? Because he was overlooked last year and other people were. And Ashton really needs to knuckle down this year. I feel like we can help him a little bit, but I'd like to see it. It's fascinating, though, because, again, I keep saying this, and I'll say it till the cows come home. I feel like we put way too much impetus on players that are not on the list. I don't want to see Will Hayes get 35 ever again. It feels like Paddy Dow when they kind of made the decision to delist him. Why are you making him the centre point? When we go and look at North Melbourne, at their centre point, do you know what I mean? With the exception of Adam Tomlinson, which I can forgive, right? Darcy McPherson is having the majority of contested possessions. He's protecting Will Phillips, Bailey Scott. Matthew Keast is doing the same. This makes sense for your development. You're getting the younger boys on the ball. I would love it if we would trust these younger boys a little bit more and give them their time, their due diligence. It just seems a shame. But that's the VFL wrap. Let me know who stood out for me and for you, as always. Until next time, Pommy out.
Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless.